Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to episode 2 of my Create a Webcomic series. Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to mention that I do know that I have been away for quite a bit. My last video was the Meet the Artist one, but was it like in June or something? It was quite long ago, but anyways, I'm back and basically like I mentioned before, but if you don't know, I had my O-level examinations this year and I had to take a break from not just YouTube but art almost entirely, and even like my piano and music things. But anyways, so yeah, it has been quite a while. Like the last video I did, which was the Meet the Artist one, was filmed even, I think it was last year, so I haven't filmed any videos this year. So yeah, that's been quite crazy, but I'm glad that I'm back and that I'm able to continue my series and share my art with you guys. So let's jump right into the video. Alright, so I know I posted the first episode of my Creating a Webcomic series here on YouTube with you guys, and I talked about knowing your characters and just basically creating and setting them up, knowing the story and the world you're in. I don't remember exactly every word I said, it has been a really long time, but for this episode, I'm going to be showing a few clips, as you can see, of me drawing some of my OCs in different poses, and some of my paddling process, and some of my writing as well. And so in this video, I'm really going to talk about how I set myself up to start paneling and start making the pages. And there are quite a few things you have to do beforehand. It's just to help yourself, really. You can don't do these things, but I really recommend them because it really does help you in your paneling process. So first of all, you should already know your OCs. And in episode 1, I did talk about drawing my own OCs and knowing what they're like, knowing what they'll do in what situations, and whether are they sociable or not, stuff like that. And you should have a clear idea of what your characters are like. Who are they friends with? How close are they with their friends? Their age. And all these are important in planning your webcomic because it really does impact the setting. And talking about setting, you should know the context and the setting of your webcomic. Is it in school? Is it outside in the park? Is it in a fantasy world where there are witches and mages? What kind of story do you want it to be? Are you in a toxic environment? Are you in a well-loving family? And just what do you want the viewer to see in your story? Because I'm sure you will know what your story is, but how you write it and plan it out is really, it really shows how effective it can be, because you need to know that the viewer doesn't know your story, and they really only start to know your characters once they read your webcomic, and so you should have an introduction about them somehow. And it can be done slowly, where like in the first episode you introduce one character, then in the second episode you introduce another character, or chapter should I say, not episode. Or you can do it all in the first chapter. It's really up to you, but you just need to know your timeline and how many chapters you want to do, how many seasons even. For example, I let my viewers know by having this kind of narrator kind of voice. It's not a voice, it's like a writing, because it's not a voice, it's in writing, but it's kind of like a speech bubble, but without the speech, you know. It's like it's like the narrator talking about my characters, and I would say stuff like, this is Emeralda, she is in high school, and stuff like that. And people will be like, oh, okay, so she is in high school now, and they will kind of know what to expect for the future panels and chapters. And another thing is the script, the drawing, the planning, all that. Now, I will say that you should have a script in mind, a physical script where you do write down what is done on what panel, and just planning things out, because you might have an idea of your story, but it really takes time to kind of plan out effectively what panels to have what on, and how many panels you want in a page. And because if you have excessive panels, it can make your story look boring and just overstretched out. And if you have too little panels, you might miss out key information that you should include, because maybe you know it in your head but you didn't write it down, and it will be confusing to your viewers because they won't understand what you're doing because you missed out important information. Having a script or a plan is kind of helping you see for the near future of maybe the whole of chapter 1, how you want to plan out, how you want it to progress. And during the drawing process, you can change up some panels and things if you think they suit it differently, because really like the drawing and the writing can be a little bit different. You can also do some storyboarding, which is when you just scribble on the page, drawing like your idea of what you want on what panel, and really it's very vague, and it's just a quick scribble, and it just helps you to see the whole picture better. But I don't do it because I don't think I need it, but if you think you need it, then you should do it. And you don't have to plan out the whole story and the whole process all in one go. You can do it such that like you can draw a little bit, then plan out more, then draw more, then plan out more, because it can get boring for, you know, writers if you are just doing all the drawing and not the writing, and it can be boring for artists if you're doing all the writing first then doing the drawing. It can get boring that way. So always do things at your pace and whatever suits you. There is no fixed format on whether should you write the script first or draw first, your panels. It's all up to you, because it's your own webcomic at the end of the day. And just remember to have fun, because it should be a fun process. And the goal of the webcomic for me is to develop my OCs more and get to know them more in detail, because I really do feel like the bond with my OCs isn't as strong as I want it to be right now. And I really want to love Esmeralda and Jace and Julia and Jaden, so that's why I'm doing my webcomic. And well, you should know what is your goal for you doing your webcomic. And oh yeah, I want to mention that you should always have an idea of how the webcomic, how your story ends, because if you don't have the whole story planned out, that's fine, but you should always have an idea of how you want it to end. Whether is it a happy ending, does someone die, is it a sad ending, is it a cliffhanger, you know, and that will help you plan out your story and slowly work towards it. And also you might want to have an idea of how many chapters, how many panels you roughly want. Like maybe you want 50 chapters or 10 chapters. It really makes a difference on how much detail you can put into your story, and how excessive you can be. And also always simplify your drawing. So what I mean by this is try to make your characters as simple and your setting as simple as possible. And I would say oversimplifying is much better than being overcomplicated, because if you're drawing this character with tons of details, hair accessories, and a lot of clothing, it can get tough, because probably in every other panel you're drawing them at least once, and it can get really boring because you might take a really long time to draw them and you'll just feel unmotivated and you feel like you're getting nothing done, which you don't want to feel that way. You want to feel that you're getting things done and your story is progressing. So always try to simplify your characters as much as possible. If you plan to work on your webcomic, let's say you have like a one whole year to do it, and you're only doing that, and you know you want your characters to be detailed purposely, it shows something. It's just maybe it shows some character trait about them by being overcomplicated. Sure, go ahead, but just know that you'll be in it for a longer ride and a tougher ride, especially if you're like me and it's your first ever webcomic. You'll probably have a lot of questions and you're not sure how to approach things. So I would say just try the panel, try to draw, try to plan out, try to script, and see what you like, what you don't like. And it's time to experiment, because in your first webcomic, really, I think you're trying to figure out what way works best for you, because like I said, it works differently for everyone, and everyone has their own way of doing things that they like the most, that is most efficient to them. And you shouldn't stress yourself out, and start with kind of like a simpler kind of webcomic, or maybe even do just like a short like story, like just one episode, just to see how you like doing panels and all that. Because like for me, I had thought about doing like big fantasy kind of webcomic with a lot of characters and so many seasons, like Naruto, you know, never ending. But I thought that would be very mentally taxing, because I have never even done a webcomic before. So you might want to start out with something simple, something that you can manage, a story that's simple, so you can focus more on the paneling and drawing, for example. That's what I'm doing. My story is quite simple, and there's nothing really much exciting about it, in a way where there's nothing that's very different or out of the blue. It's a very, you know, that's why my title for my webcomic is the quintessential serendipity, because it really is quintessential. And it's, you know, serendipity. Yeah, it's a stroke of luck that Emeralda and Jay even met. But anyways, you should read my comic when it comes out. But just always remember, at the end of the day, don't stress yourself out and just work on it on your own pace. If you feel like you need to take a break, do it. If you feel like you don't know your characters well enough, where you're in a situation where your character does something and you're not sure how they would react, you might want to rethink what your character is like, their personality, and you try to work around that and see how they would react. But yeah, I think that is basically all about it for this episode of creating a webcomic. So I talked about just how to plan out before you start paneling and start your drawing process. And you should know your OCs, know your settings, and understand the reader's point of view. Let them understand what you want them to understand in an efficient and effective way. And really, I'm also experimenting myself. And I did mention before that this series is more of like a explore with me, not like a guide on how to do a webcomic, because I'm totally not qualified enough. But I think in the next episode I will be more in depth about paneling and how to really hone in your ability to panel quickly but effectively, what to panel, how long an episode should be. And I think I will just do the next episode when I've done really much more panels and pages and I really know what I do like, because I'm still kind of experimenting. I've done quite a few pages already, but not enough where I think I'm very solid and smooth with my process of paneling. So I think it'll take quite a bit, but hopefully by the end of the year, like I said, I can post something. But yeah, that's it, and thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!